So, Sean.
Good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen in the Facebook land. Sean Harvey here with Success with Dynamic Duo with my business partner and co-host, Julia Patterson. We want to welcome you today to this broadcast. Sit back, relax, take notes, turn off all your distractions. Very important, turn off your Facebook. It's consuming you right now. We need to get into your subconscious brain so we can help inspire you and motivate you on taking the journey that's in your life's best interest. Is something that you've always wanted. So I'm going to pass it over to my co-host, Julia Patterson. She can explain to you about Trilby, and I will sit back and listen as well. Thank you.
That's great for a talker. Sean's a real talker, in case nobody knows that. Thanks, Sean. I appreciate that. Welcome, everyone. We have a really great guest speaker today from New Zealand. Trilby Johnson. She's an author, a speaker, and a body energy alchemist. She's going to have to explain what that is because I'm not sure. She specializes in supporting forward-thinking change makers like coaches, spiritual entrepreneurs, healers, and sensitives to connect to the essence of who they truly are so they can realize and align with their potential for a happy, healthy, and successful life. She helps people transform their lives, basically, is what she does. So, Trilby, welcome. We're really happy you're here today.
Hi, Julia and Sean. Thank you. I'm really happy to be here. Thank you.
And it is morning where Trilby is, so she's like to the future. She's, we're looking into our future here, guys. It's kind of cool when you think about it. What is it, about 13, 14 hours different, something like that? It's kind of cool.
Yeah, probably more about 18. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Trilby, if you wouldn't mind kind of giving us an overview of your story, what got you into what you do now, and what were your aha moments along the way, and the biggest thing is what keeps you motivated on a daily basis to move forward and keep on helping all those people you're helping. What is it that your vision is? If you don't mind sharing some of that stuff with us, that would be awesome.
Sure, thank you. And now I love to talk, so please rein me in, okay? I can go on and on.
We have a sign. If one of us wants to talk, it's this.
Okay.
I have to do that with Sean.
Okay, cool. So my story, I think what made me start asking questions, very young, I was very observant, and I noticed that somehow what was happening out there didn't kind of match up with what I felt inside of me. Like I came to have fun and live a life that was interesting and exciting, and yeah, where we could grow and support each other. And I didn't see any of that around. So I think very young, I just kind of thought, I remember saying to my mom, why do we come and die? What happens after we die? I had all these questions after what happens after we die, because my conclusion was, well, if we just come and we have this life of struggle and then we die, there must be more to life. So I think I came in with that. And I was born in South Africa during the apartheid era. And as often's the case, when you're in it, you don't really recognize it, but there was this struggling around, I grew up in a country where we were constantly in danger, and living in those conditions as well, it just didn't match up. So I started asking questions. I was a very avid reader, so very young, I got my hands on esoteric material, occult, things like that. I was just very fascinated by them and history. And I kind of always thought, well, how come there's been no progress in a way? Like, how come we're still doing the same things? We still, and I mean, okay, these are huge generalizations, but this is what I was observing. And in my own home life, I wasn't very happy. And so that drove me to be very introspective, which was a very good thing, because although I felt very isolated and alone for many years, it also made me ask questions that I think I wouldn't have asked otherwise. And I know in my darkest moments, I just long to find information or find a person who could show me how I could change my life. And so I suppose that's what motivates me, because I know that people have those moments, and it's so important when you're in those moments to know that things can change and to keep going, and to be okay with what's ever coming up. I think there's so much entrainment, programming around, what families are, how we're supposed to be. All our behaviors are taught to us.
Mhm.
And I just kind of thought, but that doesn't make sense. It just wasn't working out. So, I've always wanted to know what's more. There's more. I've just been very curious, and I just had this feeling inside of me that, there was more to life than what I was seeing. And so that's where it kind of started. And, I went on to study healing. It just was kind of natural in a way. And because I was curious, like people would say when I'd hold hands with them or put my hands on them, that they started to feel good and peaceful. And I thought, oh, okay, what's that? And then I heard about Reiki, and I thought, oh, I wonder if that's what I do. So I went and studied Reiki and found out, yeah, that's what you do. But now I had a certificate, So, which was great, because the world we live in, people feel more comfortable, I think, with people who have certificates, But there's a whole different aspect, which is experience. And I'm very big on walking your talk. So what keeps me going is because I had to get out of the shit myself. I know how to do it. Because when you're there, it's like, what do I do to get out of the shit? I mean, very simple question, but it works, And yet for a long time, I didn't ask that question. I just thought, oh, why me? It was the victim mentality. And it took me quite a lot of processing, and I did go and have therapy, and that because I wanted to really feel better. I suppose that was my greatest motivation. I wanted to feel good about myself, and I wanted to enjoy my life. And I suppose that's what's motivated me. And so I've studied a lot, and the more I study, the more I realize the more I want to know, because it's like I get to the end and I think, oh, but they didn't answer that question. What about that question? What about that question? So I have a voracious appetite for knowledge. I'm quite analytical in my what I call my spiritual outlook. But I found that's healthy. It's kept me skeptical, because there are a lot of falsehoods out there. And, just finding skills that help me get through my daily life in a way that I was able to release my emotional baggage, for want of a word, and start to really tap in to joy, happiness, and health. And surprisingly enough, my best friend has turned out to be my body. And by that, I mean my intuition, my ability to tap into higher senses than most of us are aware of at this stage. And I also have a great desire to share that information with people, because I really think that when you know first that it's possible to change it, and then how to change it, it can make all the difference to how you live your life. So that's the short version.
So how did this journey start for you? When did you decide, you know what, this job thing sucks. I want to go and be an entrepreneur and do something for myself. When did that aha moment happen?
Oh, Sean, it happened actually. I was 18, I got my first job, and after 2 weeks I got it as an administrative clerk, and I just thought, oh my God, this is so boring. And then it took me probably 25 years to be able to get out of the system, you know. For many years, how can I say, the job kind of fed my mental mind, but spiritually, you know, my sense of personal fulfillment, it just wasn't in alignment. But at the same time, it gave me the funds that I could explore my interests. And then, of course, there was the dilemma between the comfort and safety net of a, you know, wonderful salary, but not a sense of satisfaction. So I think my real aha moment where I said, right, this is it, was when it was 9 years ago, and I decided to, kind of my life came to a point where I really thought, no, I can't continue like this. You know, it's up until then I'd kind of done patch jobs and kept on convincing myself, yeah, just, you know, it's a paycheck, you know, and you can do what you want on the side. But I do believe that, you know, our higher calling will really direct us. And so everything just started to fall apart in my life in Europe. And so I thought, okay, you know, what's going on? And then new things came up. So probably 9 years ago when I left and I moved to New Zealand, it's the first time I think where I really consciously said, right, now I'm leaving the corporate world and I'm going to do what I really love. And it's been a journey, definitely been a journey. I've had to be very flexible. I've had to stretch in ways that I could never have imagined, and find the right door. You know, sometimes I've knocked on many doors and they haven't opened. And yeah, I've gotten despondent because I was so in this kind of mindset of this is how it should work. And I've actually had to just let that go because that's the identity, and allow life and energy to really serve me. And it's a different dynamic. And I mean, it could sound flippant, but some people say go with the flow. But it is that, you know, but our mind is, well, my mind was constantly saying, yeah, but you can't do that, because I am very procedural in how I go about things. So to throw out the procedure for me is like catastrophic. And the perfectionist in me like freaked out totally. But it's helped me develop my trust. I continued to learn new skills as I was trying to find the door. I mean, that's when I decided I wanted to do coaching, but at the same time, I didn't want to go into corporate coaching. I really wanted to do something that would help people to integrate all three aspects. So the body, mind, emotions, and the spiritual or higher calling, because that's been my experience, is that we need the balance, we need the alignment, and it's when all three things come together, that's when the change shows up. So, and every day is a new day. And I ask questions every day. Questions have been probably, let me reiterate, calibrated and very specific questions, not like, why me? Yes, that could be a question, but that didn't work. So, you know, very pointed questions that help me to shift things, and also just, I think, trusting the process. That's been really, really huge for me, because I had a great fear of being not safe in my country, not safe as me. So that was a huge thing that I had to release. And, you know, no man is an island. We're part of a society, a bigger part. And so, you know, it's just really becoming aware, I suppose, of how I feel when certain things happen, and then just tweaking until I get to a place where I feel good about it.
So did you have somebody when you were going through this, when you were 18, 19, kind of going on this journey, did you have a running partner, somebody that kind of guided you along the way and was on the journey with you? Or was it like you're a lone ranger?
I was a lone ranger. I was a lone ranger. My book Fearlessly Alone is actually my story of being the lone ranger, if you, for want of a word. And because it's helped me to understand how society trains us, you know, how there's these belief systems and concepts out there. But I didn't know. I had books. I think that's what really saved me. I got hold of books, and it was wonderful because anything I could get my hands on, and slowly I started to find people were writing about things that, you know, I had thought about in my darkest moments, and that feeling of, oh my God, it's not just me. Because I thought I was crackers, you know, for a long time. You know, I mean, I've been through depression, I've been through burnt out, you know, I've had suicidal tendencies, so I've been on the edge, you know, and I know what it's like. And I want to be there to support others, you know, because it is important, that support, to have people. Having said that, you know, there were people strangers, like who I would meet at the bus stop, or, you know, when I was picking up my sister from school, I remember there was this lady, she was the grandmother of another scholar, and just something she said to me one day. So there were things that helped me along the way, but I think for me it was a solitary journey, because I really wanted to get to the bottom of who I was and work through that. So and then when I later on I did go and do psychoanalysis. So I did eventually get help, but that was probably 8 years later. Yeah. And that's where I think I started to learn, you know, become aware that my thoughts, I was not my thoughts. I mean, I remember the day where I really got that was like such a huge shift for me, because I really thought that all these emotions and thoughts I was having was who I was. And it took me still even longer to really understand, you know, that I was very sensitive. I was an empath, and that a lot of what I was picking up on was not mine. I mean, in a level, I knew that, because I would know, like, when someone was upset. I mean, I could sense people's moods, but I always thought, oh, you know, have I done something wrong? And that's kind of the home that I grew up in as well. So I had to work through, you know, shame and blame and all those kind of things. But yeah, I was very alone for most of my life. But it's good. I got to know me. So that's good. And that's actually my kind of life mantra, is know thyself. Because I really do think that we have to know ourselves. For me, it's been really a journey from self-loathing to self-love. And it's been very, very hard. And, you know, out of that, if I can support anybody else to just know that there is always a solution, and to connect them as much as possible, because life is much more simpler than we've been made to believe. And when we go with that and we trust that, but of course, if you come in from a place of abuse and trauma, you know, that trust is very hard. And I think the biggest mistake we do make is we look outside of ourselves for the answers, and they really are inside. We've got things the wrong way around. So, I mean, that's been my experience. So yeah, when I say I've crawled up from, you know, a bottom of a very dark pit, I have. And yeah, but I always felt, I think even if it was just in my mindset or mind shift, I was supported in a way, you know, and it was only much later in life that, you know, I heard about angels and things like that. And I mean, I have a very different take on most new age concepts, but, you know, that's okay. It was information, and it was, again, just confirmation to me that I was not the only one that was having these struggles.
Experience is such a great teacher, isn't it? And I think a lot of
Absolutely.
times we forget or don't realize what, how much our experience, and we're really being guided along the way, and
Yeah.
if we're open to it. But the other thing too is a lot of people don't believe their experience will help others. And I think that's where the go from self-loathing or lack of self-value to self-love, and realizing, I mean, when you were talking, I was thinking, that's a lot of that stuff is sort of my journey too, in a lot of ways, from the guilt
Yeah.
and the shame and the, all that poor me stuff over to, where I am now. So, and actually Sean and I had a guest on just recently, and he said that the purpose of life is to love and be loved. And that puts it so succinctly. I get goosebumps every time I think about that, because that's what you're talking about. And I can see that you want to help others with your own experience, and that's just huge. I admire you so much for that. And that's where I come from too, because I really, really want to make sure that, everything is, I'm helping the people that I'm supposed to help in this life, right?
Yeah, absolutely, Julia. I mean, I struggled for a long time. People would say, "Oh, you need to teach people that," and I thought, "What? Who am I? I'm no, I really didn't think that what I could say had value to anybody else than me, and yeah, it's taken courage, and it still does, I mean, I'm not saying there's not days where I just kind of think, but it's not the same. And now it's just a tweaking, because we have, fluctuation. Life goes, like this. So, but yes, yeah. No, don't scare the people. Come on.
Come on, tell it how it is. There's nooks and crannies and turns. It's like a roller coaster ride. You jump here, oh here, oh there.
Yeah.
Absolutely, it is. And the secret is to keep your bum in the seat and scream, shout, cry, whatever. But yeah, it does. It's and I think as well, with the online business and that's also helped. I mean, I started blogging. I always had a dream. Yes, I wanted to write a book, but I mean, it was filed away. And it's because I didn't think of myself as a writer. I still don't. I mean, I'm not the stereotypical writer who's always writing. I don't, because the way I write is spontaneous writing. Like, I get the message and I write it down, and so I've had to adapt, because I can go for periods where I just don't write because the inspiration doesn't come through, and then all of a sudden it's there. So I've learned to really walk around like with a recorder, and actually I find it easier just to speak it, because often it pops up, when I'm walking or things like that. So I just, make a note, things like that. And like blogging, and they actually started to develop that skill, so I think we all have skills. Absolutely. We have talents, we have gifts, and a lot of them are latent. And I think that's what I enjoy the most working with people, is because I have the ability to connect and then help them to have their aha moments, because it's we are all our own guru. There's nobody else who knows us better than us, but it can be we need the space to open up and build that trust, like you say, and have that confidence. And it takes time for some of us, because we've come from total opposites, where we've been told constantly, that's not good, or that's there, and the dynamic has just been upsetting. So yeah, it's important. And I love to just sit down, and I think I go into a place of amazement, and I just start to remind people, or point out to them what I love about them. And then there's energy that comes up because a lot of us are not comfortable receiving compliments, and then we just slowly find out why, in the sense, and then we can change it, because you can only change what you confront. But having said that, I mean, after having done, many years of therapy, whilst it did help, it got to a point where it was stale. And that's when I started to develop more what I call the energy side, because there's an energy to element, an energy element to healing that was not getting addressed, at least not in the modalities that I went to, and even things like Reiki and things like that. I had to explore it for myself, because there's the distance between what we understand as the mental concept and then what's really going on. And until the two actually align, we could be in a place where we don't feel we're okay. And it's also to know that that's okay as well. It's not like I'm saying, now you're going to be happy for the rest of your life. But I do know from personal experience, you can raise your vibration to a level where most of the time you are happy. And yes, there will be ups and downs, but it's not your state of being. And I think a lot of people are struggling to move out of that place, and to help them have the information to do that. And I know that, the skills that I share with my clients, they work because I use them every day. And when they don't work, I ask a question, what's next? Because everything's in creation, nothing's fixed. And I think, for a perfectionist, that's like a big, like, oh my God, how's that possible? But it's allowing, it's allowing, and it's so much easier. It really is true that it takes more energy to not be happy than it does to be happy. And I think when people get a taste of that, there's no holding them back. And that's when you start to enjoy the roller coaster ride. Yeah.
John and I had a bit of a roller coaster ride this morning, because we were trying to get set up to do a quick video for a webinar we're doing tonight. and my sound worked and then his didn't, and we were going back and forth. We tried so many things, and it was just like, and I started to laugh, and he kind of looked. It's like, yeah, okay, this is going to be huge, because we're having so many problems, right? Because that's been my experience, right?
Yeah.
It's sort of like things try to get in the way. And, I've heard it called the universal challenge line, because, like, you get to a point and some people will go boom, and then it's easier to just deflect and go back, right? Versus work through it, right? So, I mean, and it's actually kind of funny when you mentioned about the happy, and I never really thought of it this way, because so many people have always said to me, especially in the last few years, is you're always so happy, right? And I didn't translate that into vibration. But I always had people around me, like people would come to me, like it would be just like, at the time the last few years I was running a vending business before I started getting back into the online space. And it's really interesting how people would just like, I would work away, and I'd be like, people would just be like all of a sudden behind me and around me. I'm like, wow, where did they all come from, right? So it's kind of interesting when you start to pay attention to those little clues that are around you, right? And I didn't put two and two together right away. So it's kind of interesting.
Yeah, and
you said you're a perfectionist? No kidding. I know somebody like that.
Who would that be, Sean? And I'm not as bad as I used to be. Trust me on that.
And it's been a huge, I mean, as a perfectionist, I understood that for me, certainly the underlying value was control, and because I've used control to get me out of the shit, now I have to let go, and enjoy it, in the sense, not be so, this is the way it's got to be, and it's as many thoughts as we have a day, that's how many questions we should be asking, because our thoughts are what we choose, and that's what sets the map. So yes, being aware of the words we're using, how we talk about ourselves, and then how we feel, because I say bodies and energies don't lie. They're very straight up. You either feel like shit or you don't. So
Black and white.
where's words, I mean, example, you ask somebody, how are you today? And they go, yeah, I'm okay. Well, there's an incongruency there between, the words, yeah, I'm okay, and the behavior. And they say, 95% of communication is nonverbal. Well, that 95% of nonverbal communication is energy, and people don't realize that. It's, it's the expressions in the face, but more than that, it's how you feel around a person, and that's what you experience, and that's why, and it's also to be important. I know the biggest challenge for me as a empath or highly sensitive was the day I was able to distinguish between what's mine and what is other people's. I think that was the huge step to freedom, because I was trying to solve everybody else's stuff because I thought it was mine, but it wasn't mine. And I thought, and straight away I just thought, oh my God, life is so much simpler. But we have to be vigilant. I think we're just at a stage in our evolution, in our personal development, where we have to be vigilant. We have to be setting these new patterns, and being aware of the old ones and then transmuting them. Because energy doesn't just go away. It's indestructible. It's, we know this. Researchers have said that it doesn't go away, but what we need to do is direct it. And I think how we do that is by being conscious. So it's what I call switch off automatic pilot and take charge. And that doesn't mean, choose, sorry. And that doesn't mean, never using your automatic pilot, but it's using your automatic pilot when you're in a comfortable zone. And by that I don't mean the comfort zone. It's in a place where you're vibrating in harmony with what you really desire, and I found that is actually incremental, because the more you're in that space, there's levels. It's like when I did my studies and I thought, yeah, when I get to the end of my studies, I will know it all. Well, no, I didn't. I had even more questions, and I thought, well, this is no good. Now I have to study something else, because I wanted to understand. I wanted to understand how things work, how I worked. So there's always a new horizon. There's a new horizon when you get to the top, and that's life. And when we get to a place of happiness, whatever that means for us, or balance or success, there's levels within that, there's experiences in that, and it does expand exponentially, which is amazing, because I never would have thought that you could be more happy. But there's the more the kind of common definition falls away and you find out what it means for you, then you can work with it different. Some people, for example, don't like the word gratitude and they prefer the word appreciation. And it could just be about how it feels for you, because words mean different things for other people. But also, what does a word mean for you? Because that's what's important. What's important is behind your vibration, behind what you're saying, and it does take courage to sometimes stand up against, friends and families. Often it's hardest with people closest to us, because of course that's where we spend most of our time. And ironically, sometimes we can be more ourselves with strangers than we feel we can with our close ones, because we push buttons for people too, just we're not even aware of it, but we are, just by being ourselves.
That's our ego. And I'm going to say this, I'm going to compliment what you said a little bit earlier. I think the biggest challenge that most people have from taking imperfect action is making a mental decision that they're emotional, they're confident, their communication with the universe is what they want, and they're scared of getting uncomfortable because, well, that doesn't feel right. It's, I get goosebumps when I talk in front of people, all this nonsense that goes on in between our two ears. And the hardest part of life and business is the 6 inches in between our two ears. And if you don't got your stinking thinking taken care of and a checkup from the neck up, then there's a really big action of no action, and it's like you're stuck. You're spinning your wheels up against the wall, and you're not moving forward. You're not getting the results you want, and all of these things. And people think, yeah, but it's, like you said, it's them, it's this. We got to change the inner roots to change the outer fruits.
Absolutely.
And so many people have that challenge that, they look at people that have been online as an example longer than them, and they go, well, yeah, but I'm not making $1 million a year yet. They just been at it a little bit longer than we have. So we just have to say, hey, you know what? We've come a long way. Have that attitude of gratitude that you're growing. You look back and you go, man, when I was a mess back then. And I say that to myself, I was a complete mess. To look at where I'm at today, 12, 14 years later, I'm going, man, this is pretty exciting. And I'm still not where I want to be, but I know the laser focus is, hey, this is where we're going. This is what we're doing. This is why we're doing it. And I had a good mentor of mine last week telling me this: if one door closes, don't feed yourself a bunch of bullshit that's going to open up another door. No, go make your own door.
Absolutely.
Go make another window that you can go out of. Don't wait for the other door. Screw that. Make another window. Make another door. Get through it. Become resourceful, and those things will happen in your life when they're supposed to.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a bit coming back to the roller coaster and, tell it like it is. It's hard. It's hard. There are moments that it's like, what the heck, but push on through. But because there are amazing moments, and it's so important to, I never thought I'd be here today saying that I love myself, like even 10, 15 years ago, absolutely not. That seemed an impossibility to me. So it's very important to acknowledge ourselves. And every day, at the end of every day, I like to look back on my day and I look for things. And I've had to train myself to look in a specific way, because the mind will say, oh, no, you did that wrong or whatever. But it's like, no, I did it. Thank you. Small things. It's so true. The devil is in the detail, and it's small steps. It's every day. Again, as many thoughts, ask the questions and find out for you, because even if, the whole world's saying this is the way you do it, if inside you don't feel it's right for you, you got to find that place where it feels right for you, doing what you want.
And I think too many people don't listen to their intuition. They have that gut feeling that it doesn't feel right, but they don't follow it. They just ignore it. And I mean, I do it too. I just recently had a situation where I did something and it turned and I was like, okay, what did I do? How did I bring that on myself? Right? Could I have made the end result a bit different? And it was that initial moment I looked back and I was like, okay, that's the moment I knew I shouldn't have done it the way I did it, but I did it anyway. My heart was in the right place to help somebody, but I knew now I realize the way I was doing it was not going to turn out the way I guess I had envisioned it. So, Trilby, do you have I know that your goal is to help people. That's your purpose. But do you see what your life looks like? Do you actually have an actual vision out there in front of you, or you just, as you said, go with the flow, or like, how does it work for you?
I'll be totally honest, and I really just wake up every morning and I say, right, what would I like to do today? And I allow the day to unfold, and amazing things show up. Goals did not work for me. All I ended up doing when I had a goal was, let me explain. When it wasn't my true goal, it fell through anyway. And then I just land up judging myself. So I just know that this is expensive. I know that it's changing very fast. I mean, my awareness of our current energy is new, and it's new in a whole new level. And we are being invited to be active, conscious co-creators. And that means asking and allowing every minute of the day. And some people say, oh, that sounds like too hard work. It's not. It's much less effort than living blindly and following all this programming that's keeping us stuck. So I don't know where I'm going at the moment. At the moment, when I finished my book last year, I think that was such a huge release for me. So at the moment, I'm just dabbling in writing. My writing style has changed, which is really interesting too. So I'm exploring that. But I've given myself permission to explore things. I think whereas before I was motivated from, I want to move away from this because it doesn't feel good. Now I want to just be in the moment, and even if it's uncomfortable, and say, oh, okay, and learn to tweak, when you're trying to find that radio station, you've got to be adjusting that dial, and you've got to be very present. You've got to be listening, you've got to be tuned in. So I'm very much living in the now, more and more, and that's what I'm playing with at the moment, is really being as present as possible. So when people say to me goals and things like that, it's like, yeah, okay, it's not really relevant. I mean, I still get inspiration, and I mean, like for this appointment, I booked in my time and things like that. So I'm not like pretending like the world out there doesn't exist. Absolutely. But I just do it from a space of, just allowing and enjoyment, rather than, I've got to do this to be a success, because we are successful whatever we're doing already. And I think that's been the most important thing for me. So whatever I do, I will be successful at it. Whether it's where I think I want to be, maybe not, but I can change that at any moment and, move closer to what I want. And I think that's life, and that's really letting go of the perfectionist, of the need to control. The only thing I control is my attitude, and that saying's been around for ages, is how am I going to interpret this moment. And like Sean said, thinking's thinking, but it's also to look beyond that and actually transmute that stinking energy, and understand what's motivating it. But no, I don't have a plan as such. I just affirm. I ask every day, this is what I'd like today. But I no longer hold myself judge and jury. If it doesn't show up, I still go through, appreciation, and I keep on asking myself, my higher self, because the universe serves us, but we are the director. And I think a lot of people miss that step. They're asking the universe. Well, that's still separate from ourselves, isn't it? Well, that's been my experience, because I thought, this is not working. There's a missing link here. So it's taking that time, and constantly, like when I get the breath helps me a lot, just to be in the moment. So I'm just really getting to know me and exploring my talents, and connecting with people. And the more I let go of my idea of how it's supposed to play out, the easier it becomes. I really just choose, this is what I'd like. Like I go into a restaurant, for example, and I order my meal, and I wait for the meal to arrive. And if it doesn't arrive, that's something else. But I don't run into the kitchen and say, who's the chef? What's he doing? Where did you get your food from? Oh, what knife are you using? Because that was the control freak. So, so I'm still in that state of being, of just being really present to how I'm behaving and being present to my thoughts and tweaking those that are not in alignment with joy. For me, I want to live with ease and joy. That's my intention. And I want to be free. I am free and I want to enjoy that. So I ask questions. How can I live more free today? And then I wait. I wait for the waiter and the cook and the universe to prepare my meal and to bring it. But I don't judge anymore if it comes in or not, so
most people, I think, Trilby, is they coast, they settle, they're like, I'm just going to get this job, and I'll be the first one to admit that I'm just going to get a job for a little while, and that little while turns out to be a long freaking while, because you got bills, you got kids, you got mortgage, you got all these things, and now you're in that rut. And I tell people this: the difference between the rut and the grave is the depth. And people are in that rut of the job because of the decisions they made, and they don't realize that they've actually controlled their destiny, but with the decisions that they made. It's either going to serve you or it's going to consume you. And most people just keep going and going and going and going, and next thing you know, they're 65 years old and go, can't teach a dog new tricks, can't teach an old dog new tricks. I guess this is my calling. This is where I'm meant to be. Meanwhile, they have all these crazy dreams from when they were 25, and we just bury them when they're 65. And they did a poll to reiterate what you were talking about. Most people don't live their lives full out. We bury them full, and they live life empty.
Absolutely.
Because they have so much stuff that I wish I would have spent more time with my family. I wish I would have traveled more. I wish I would have got out of the house more. All of these things, and people have that. And we don't get no do-overs, guys. There's no doing this over. There's no fixing our mistakes. Our mistakes are our mistakes. They're a learning tool. And we just want to say, you know what? If it's to be, it's up to me. If you don't like where you're at, change yourself, and it'll change your life and your world. So we're gonna cut this short, Trilby. We truly went overboard, and that's okay. But we just want to say, guys, you know what? You can control anything when you get control of your mind. When you get control of your inner vibration to your outer vibration, you're gonna attract into your life what you do want versus what you don't want if you have the right mindset. And your mindset is everything about what you have going on in your personal life and your business. Julia, do you have anything you want to say?
I just had one aha moment when Trilby was talking there, because I asked about goals, and then with what she said, it was kind of like, oh, so when you set a goal rather than attention, you're identifying what you don't have in your life. That was my aha moment today. So thank you, Trilby.
Absolutely. Yeah, so absolutely.
True, right? So that was huge.
So we just want to say thank you guys for watching today's episode of Success with Dynamic Duo. Thank you so much, Trilby, for sharing them golden nuggets that you have with us. We look forward to connecting with you again. Thank you, guys. Have a great day, and we will see you on the next live. Take care, guys. Bye for now.
Thanks so much.